The Missing Witches podcast is entirely listener funded. If you want to support the Missing Witches project, become a subscriber. Check out the all-new missingwitches.com.
You aren't being a proper woman, therefore you must be a witch. 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 You must be a witch.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Missing Witches podcast. I'm Amy and I'm so super thrilled to be here recording part 2 of our special future Histories of Black Magic. It's Black History Month, but the people that I'm in circle with today are creating our Black history of the future, and we're so grateful to have them. Very quickly, we are joined by Zoe and Sherry and Olaomi and Thea and Loli, and I want to start by asking Zoe if you will do a little reading, and also if you can introduce yourselves to our listeners who maybe haven't met you before. All of you wonderful witches have been on the podcast before. I hope that our listeners will go and revisit your episodes if you missed them. Zoe Flowers, writer, occultist, healer, hit us with your energy.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Amy. Thank you, listeners. I'm Zoe Flowers. I'm calling in today from the original land of the Podunk, the Paquonic people, and many more here in Hartford, Connecticut. My pronouns are she and they. I'm a Black woman with Black curly hair, red glasses, red lipstick, a Black sweater, and a little necklace, Black necklace. Okay. And the poem I'm going to read is In the Blood. Soon and very soon, I will disremember how you gutted, sucker-punched, split me in two, cracked me wide, fed on all that lived, leaving only carcass in its place. Shell-shocked, bones picked dry, I rise, but like walkers, I'm not fully awake. Ritual slow, I begin exercising you from cell memory, hypnotize myself to unlove you, cleanse root, sacral, crown, you've helped me become strategic. Employing ancient recipes, visiting the mat, I sit at the Baba's feet. Orisha say you not the one, move on, it ain't that deep. I'm a shown machete cords that keep us linked. Carry black onyx between legs, burying it in the ground when my cycle is complete. When loneliness threatens to overtake me, I pull out the receipts, all the while reminding myself to breathe. Ancient message, my DNA birth civilization. I am the one I seek. I great-grandmother my inner child, become Obia lady, put your name in the freezer, stay on duppy alert, sprinkle black salt across my doorway, burn yellow, blue, and white candles, bathe in oranges and rue, bless my head with myrrh at sunset. I am forgetting about you, offering cowries and honey to the river, pineapple to the ocean, myself to any enlightened ancestor that will listen. I ask Oshun if this is payback for those I killed. She tells me, look for sweetness, bless all that curse me. She is not the source of guilt. Fully awake or re-clear, the roots begin to loosen, and you are becoming no thing more than practice in urban legend. The more I pray, the more your relevance is lessened. You have become 8-track because it is I that is honey to the bee, and soon you will be haint restless, searching for spells to unloose you from me. In the blood. Thank you.
So, can you tell us who you are and what a little bit about the book that came from? Because the story behind that book is incredible.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So this is my first book, From Ashes to Angel's Dust, A Journey Through Womanhood. And, you know, I'm an occultist. I'm a healer, person. Gosh, yeah. A curious person in the world. And, you know, a magical being. Happy to be here.
A magical being indeed. Thank you so much. You know, I will say one more time, I took a little trip to Brooklyn last summer, and absolutely one of the highlights was getting to meet Zoe Flowers in person. Having a meal with you and breaking bread, it really, I'll cherish it until the next time we meet in person again.
So perfect. It was so perfect and magical. Even the way that it happened, it was like, yeah.
Yeah, it was
Yeah,
very witchy and
it
meant
was
to be.
extremely witchy. Yeah.
I want to move on to Loli Moon. I will introduce you as Mystic Moon Medicine, an astrologer, but also as a revolutionary. And I want to do that because Risa and I attribute and quote you all the time. You said to us something to the effect of that we could use astrology to find our place in the revolution.
Mm-hmm.
And that struck such a major chord with us. And I apply it elsewhere too, outside of astrology. Like, how
Mm-hmm.
can this help me learn my place in the revolution? So, can you introduce yourselves to those who were unlucky enough to miss you last time you were on the podcast? Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me again. I'm so honored and very grateful. I'm grateful to hold space with all of you as well. Happy Black History Month. Happy Black Future Month. Happy Black Freedom Month. Okay. My name is Loli Moon. I also go by the name Efun Lola, which was given to me by the Orisha. I have given myself many labels before in the past, and because my focus for this month is freedom, I'm going to allow myself to be free of labels. I am well known for being an astrologer, yes, but to keep it simple, I'm a natural mystic. I am a Canadian Jamaican woman. I reside on Algonquin territory, and I'm here to take up space unapologetically and authentically as myself. And yes, part of my reasoning for being here is to remind people that you have the power. Yes, you know, our spirit guides, our ancestors, etc., are here to help us with our path, but at the end of the day, we have the power to decide how to react to things. And when it comes to revolution, it is very easy to get very emotional and get very caught up in the tidal waves of what comes with the revolution. But we must remember to stay focused and stay grounded in our bodies. We are spiritual beings having human experiences, and we have a mission to complete. There is no other choice. Okay, we are the granddaughters, we are the women, we are the witches who were burnt at the stake, and we remember everything. Okay, and so while that is happening, I remember my place. I remember all the hats I wore back then, and I'm here to add on to those and to keep it pushing. So I understand what your place is in the revolution, and understand that your place in the revolution can also change. Maiden, mother, crone. Your place of the maiden is going to change your place as the mother and as the crone, and throughout the revolution as well in that same way. And so embracing those changes is very, very, very important. Everyone that's listening to this right now, we went through some really intense changes last year, right? The eclipses on the Taurus Scorpio axis, that is continuing this year. Those changes and those roles are going to change as well. And we must continue to roll with the tides, honey. Keep surfing, keep swimming. We're going to make it. We'll be okay. We got each other. That's all that matters. Our magic is our sword. Okay. Our words are our wands. Our spirits are our shield. And we come as one, but we stand as 10,000, a million, and so on and so on and so on. So, you know, as overwhelming as it can be to be here right now, what is coming is why we are here. Okay. What has happened so far is just the trailer of the movie. What is coming is why we are here. So don't ever question why you are here. Don't ever question why is this happening to you. It's happening for you, beloved. It's happening for all of us. Okay, this is the year of the seven, they say, the year of the chariot. It's more than that. 7 sisters, 7 continents, 7 oceans. Okay, 7 days of the week, 7 celestial bodies. When you heal thyself, you heal 7 generations before you, 7 generations after you. So when I say Black History Month and Black Future Month, Black Freedom Month, that's what I'm talking about. So it's everything in between. So take it all in, inhale, exhale, release it all. But yeah, that's me. I'm Loli Moon, natural mystic, free of labels right now.
Listeners, now you know what the fuck we're talking about. Like, when you feel the energy coming off. Thank you again so much for being here and bringing that spirit to this conversation. Thank you so much. I'm stoked.
Me too.
Great stoker of fire. You're like a little iron poker, and I'm all shaking in my chair.
Yes, that's what I'm here to do. I'm here to sharpen the machetes, honey. Okay.
Yes,
Yes.
thank you. We need poets and we need warriors, and if we can be both at once, that's ideal. Another warrior poet Sherry Schoen, that hoodoo lady, author. How are you doing? What are you doing? Hi.
Oh, so much, so much. First of all, thank you everyone for listening in. Thank you for all of my sisters in witchdom and conjure and root work and everything else that we call ourselves. I come to you, I met Amy and Risa and they embraced me and welcomed me. It's the reason I have my second book. I did the first book, The Hoodoo Guide to the Bible, all self-published, and Amy said, "Oh, no, you don't. You're going to go through a publisher." And I said, "No, I don't know about all that." But anyway, so there it went. And now it is. And now it's continuing. And I'm continuing to do more and more, but only through what spirit and my ancestors asked me to. Some of the things that I am working on is acceptance in your conjure and in your hoodoo. I am in agreement with what Miss Loli Moon said when it is about these labels. These labels are continuing to tear us apart and divide us. We started as a nation of one, as a continent of one, and what's happening is you keep hearing these divisors, right? Let's divide, let's divide, let's divide. The reason they want you to divide is because they want you to be susceptible on your own, right? Every time I go walking around, I have 2 greyhounds. They are beautiful. They are named Zephyrus and Zanahari. They are both named after either Zephyrus is the god of wind, and Zanahari is Madagascan king. But anyway, my 2 boys, they go everywhere with me. And the reason they go everywhere with me is because I don't like to be alone in spirit. And I don't like to be alone and vulnerable, walking streets. I am here in Oregon, where there's not a lot of darker melanated bodies. So whenever I go walking, I have to be ready for people to come up to me and say, "Is this your neighborhood? Is this your car? Is this your wife? Are these your dogs?" So me walking around with my greyhounds gives me that courage. But I am excited to be able to be on this call and talk about and share with each other. The more we work together and accept each other in our own spiritual practices, the more we dispel the disbelief, the myth that all we do is argue and divide as a nation and as a race. We are not here to divide, right? We do so much more, and together, when we think of the ring shout, back in the day when we formed a circle and we dusted up the dust and the sand and we brought up spirit in the name of, and we continued to work together and sing and song and chant and pray together, and people got their deliverance together, it was because we did that stuff together, not because I was doing work towards somebody else to make somebody else go lower. So anyway, that is why I am here. And that is why I'm grateful to be blessed by everyone on this call. And I hope that everyone else feels this energy, y'all. I'm in the black magical shirt. Everybody else on the call is looking beautiful in their black and white and blue. And we are not playing today, y'all. So I hope y'all are ready. I hope you have your tea. You have your refreshments. You're going to need them.
We are not playing around tonight. I do want to say one thing. You know, I appreciate the credit, but 0 credit. We've talked about this before. Jeremiah 29:11. Somebody had big plans for you, and I just happened to be the person that sent the email that connected the 2, instruments of God to each other. Jeremiah 29:11. That's our motto. Me and Sherry Schoen. Do you want to do a quick reading from Hoodoo for Everyone?
Absolutely. So one of the things that I talk about in the book, and I'm just going to read really quickly, as a hoodoo practitioner, my job is to make sure that I pass along the knowledge of oral tradition of hoodoo. To do this, I tell the history of its people, the Black people of North America who were transported into enslavement by way of the diaspora. Our history is interwoven with other melanated cultures. America is founded on the ideals of freedom and built by the hard work of immigrants and those impacted by the diaspora. The diaspora is the involuntary dispersion of a group of individuals from one geographic location to another, such as from the birthplace of all humankind, Africa, to Europe, to North or South America. Our ancestors from many cultures have been impacted by the diaspora. This is universal. Therefore, our shared pain is universal. Our shared experiences of being displaced and abandoned is universal. Our shared experience of being displaced, our need for connection and community in a world that is not ours, is universal. This may be why many of us feel we don't belong here, because our roots were shifted from us without permission. Hoodoo is so precious to me because hoodoo was made by a people that needed deliverance, and deliverance is a universal need.
Deliverance, thank you.
It's a universal.
Thank you. Yeah. I'm gonna light my candle for deliverance tonight, for sure. Thea, astrologer, writer, astro historian. What are you doing? How are you weaving the stars into your research into the human experience? Tell us what you've been up to. Tell us everything.
Hi, y'all. My name is Thea. I am blessed. I am blessed, and I am blessed to be here. And this moment is a blessing because I think about that we are gathered together, and then there's an audience that will listen, and then our ancestors are here, and that this is just so much bigger. And I'm so grateful for this moment. I think, I checked the chart when we started recording, and in my place in the Berkshires in Massachusetts, where I am currently located, it had Virgo rising, making Mercury the chart ruler, in the 5th house of what we create. So we can think of what we're gonna pass along through our words. And then the moon is in Cancer in the 11th house of community. And what are we here to talk about? Community. And how are we going to do this, y'all? How are we going to do this? We're going to do it in a way that is about care, about all the moon and Cancer things, right? It is a different kind of community than we've seen. That's what we need. We need something that is life-giving. And I think about sometimes what I do, I feel like I'm a midwife to words, I take other people's words, I take my words, and I think about the way that those words give birth to a life that is just way more beyond, what I can conceive. It's often a download. If we're talking about my creative work, my research, and sometimes I'll feel that pressure to I need to get this out into the world. And then I realize, no, I'm being guided, right? These moments of spiraling in and out of research, these moments of becoming enchanted and disenchanted with the world, with the work, that is all part of the process. And so I'm here, sitting here as a human being in process, always. And I think that when we can allow each other to see each other and accept each other in our own process, we come into loving community with each other. I'm not interested in power. I'm not interested in things that divide. I'm interested in where are we going to be where could we be if we just all saw that was all smoke and mirrors? And us as a people to come together and to honor, I sat with Black History Month because we're living in this really weird time where sometimes I'm not sure if things have been commodified or marketed. And then sometimes I'm not sure if this is no, Thea, you need to sit back and reclaim this. So that is Black History Month. And especially as a Texan, I'm from Houston, to see Juneteenth sort of take a national stage over the last couple of years. And what does that mean? how is that still my like little private theirs? And now everybody, it's not. And so like, what does this mean? And I think to me, it always means it's always a reclaiming. It's always bringing it back into living context. It's always being like, this is something that we're not going to let people take it from us, appropriate it, and then claim it as theirs. This is something that we enter into, that we own, and that we share. And so I love what was just read, Sherry, what you read about like it not being freedom, but it's deliverance. There is a call, there's an invitation, and there's also an invitation on us to take other people with us. That deliverance is not an endpoint, but it's also a process. So I'm just so honored to be here. I could keep going on, but I'm going to stop.
We're going to come back around to you. Don't you worry about that. Save something, keep something in the chamber for later. Thank you so much for that rising. One of my favorite pieces that you wrote is, of course, about someone who is a North Star to probably all of us, Harriet Tubman, and tracing the sort of astrological journey, for lack of a better term, and sort of looking at her chart and the charts of the events of her life. So I hope she is one of the ancestors who's with us tonight. And thank you so much for being a future ancestor and being with me here tonight. Olo Omi. I just, the first time I saw Olo Omi was on Facebook. And we've talked about this before, but I won't get into it. So I won't get into it too much. But I was like, this person. And I was like, every social media account I could find attached to this, but I want to know every single word this person says for the rest of time. And then I finally got up the guts to ask you to come on the podcast, and you were on our panel for choice, which was obviously a super emotional topic, but also a very, very important one. And I love inviting you because I know you're going to tell it like it is. You're not going to pull any punches, and I'm going to learn something for sure. How are you? What are you doing? What's going on?
I am magnificent. All praises and honor to my ancestral mothers. There is no better place to be but in the company of my sisters. So thank you all so much for being here and creating a safe space. That is always the best place to be. It is what I incarnated to do. Right. What am I doing? I am still working on the PhD. Will probably be finished in 2024, and really leaning into, as far as that research is concerned, hoodoo, conjure, root working as a spiritual liberation technology. Right. It is a technological tool that our ancestors used to survive. So that is what I'm always doing, have been doing for the past 4 years. And it's a blessing. It is wonderful. I love it. Even being here in the great state of Florida. And I say that very sarcastically. But I think that, or I know that what we do as witches, and I teach this in some of my classes, is we deal with what is real. We don't deal with what is constructed. So there are some terrible constructs, right, that just are not real. We have a gender binary construct. It's just not real. So witches don't deal with that. We deal with reality, right? We have a race construct. It is not real. Witches don't deal with that. We deal with reality, right? We have a white supremacist or white masculist imperialism construct. We don't deal with that. We deal with reality, right? It doesn't mean that we don't live in these places. It doesn't mean that those things do not affect us. And it certainly doesn't mean that we ignore it or that we pretend it doesn't exist. But our work, and therefore our lives, take place in reality, right? So what is real is that Earth Mother Onile has completed her dance through the darkness. And even though it's winter, and it's winter here in Florida, not temperature-wise, but you can still feel the sleepy vibe of Earth Mother, right? She's still in her sleepy vibe, right? So even though she's still doing that, we know that now is the time when she's beginning to move back towards the sun. And so we feel a bubbling, right? So this is the reality we're living in, because that's what's really happening, right? And the rest of this is a construct that's created to keep us in a certain state of terror, because people, and especially those of us who are feminine people, women and femmes, we react in desperation when we're in a state of terror. So, you know, I'm here in Florida and people always say, oh, and I'm an educator in Florida. So there people say, oh no, I've heard that they're taking books off of shelves. And that's true. That's true. They're doing all of that. And they say, and how are you? And I'm like, actually, I'm magnificent, right? It's a beautiful sunny day. When I go out in my backyard, there are cranes and herons that will walk up to my gate and say good morning to me. There's 20,000 different types of lizards that I have to keep my cats in the house or they will decimate the lizard population of Florida, right? There is beauty all around and it's warm. So I can go outside every day and be mostly nude. So I'm magnificent. I live in reality. So I think that for me, that's the focus, right? Making sure that I stay in reality. Obviously, staying safe. Obviously, not being oblivious, but living in reality. Who am I? I am a hereditary witch. My mother told me that I came from a long line of witches when I was about 4 years old. She and I were communicating without speaking. And so she told me to come into the room. And I came into the room and she said, I didn't call your name. And I said, I know, but you told me to come in here. So I came in here. And so she, because, you know, Lalita and Morgan said to do something, you was going to do it. Even now from the spirit realm, she said to do something, my ass is going to do it, right? I got good sense. And I'm hard-headed, but I ain't foolish. So I'm a hereditary witch, coming from a family line that is of First Nations people here in the United States and West African people coming from Nigeria. I'm initiated priestess of Oshun for over 30 years. So Oreyeyeo, our praises to that. And coming from the deep rural South, a practitioner of hoodoo since before I was born. Right? That is what it means to live as a person of color where I'm from, is that you are practicing hoodoo. And not knowing, you know, you don't know that it has a name. There's a whole point in your life when you're doing it, you don't even know that there's a name to it. This is just what you do. This is how you stay well. This is how you stay fed. This is how you bring money into the house. This is how you stay alive. So that is who I am, mother of 6. Teacher of literature, Afrofuturism in particular. And yeah, happy Black Future and Black History Month to everyone. And also, happy day of being together, right? Happy day of coming together. I think that the path of living in reality can be very lonely. So I cherish moments when I can come together with people who are not pretending to be something else for the sake of their survival. So I cherish it. Happy moment of being together, right? It's a blessing.
Thank you for claiming your magnificence. It is self-evident to us in the room here, but for those listening, the magnificence is very real. And I love that you use that word there. It's something greater than good. It's magnificent. And you have one of my favorite definitions of magic, which I will misquote now. But you wrote something along the lines of like, magic is when the universe conspires to let you know that you are lifted. Can you expand on that a little bit? And then maybe we'll all talk about what magic means.
Yes. Magic is when you work in conjunction with the universe, and the universe lets you know that she sees you and that she hears you and that she's working with you. And it usually happens in little things. And so in the post that you're speaking of, the children and I had carved our jack-o'-lanterns, as we do on Samhain, to light the path for our unrighteous ancestors, because that's the one day that we talk to them and feed them. And in where I'm from, after you carve your jack-o'-lantern, you put the pumpkin seeds out in your yard because the pumpkin seeds bring wealth. And so I had never carved a jack-o'-lantern in Florida, nor had I sprinkled pumpkin seeds in Florida. So I'm from a whole different ecosystem of Tennessee, right? So first of all, for y'all who didn't know, jack-o'-lanterns ain't gonna last to Halloween in Florida. You gotta carve them late. You can't carve them early like I'm used to doing because this sun will just eat the jack-o'-lantern. I was like, what is happening to my jack-o'-lanterns? How are the ancestors gonna get here if they caving in? So anyway, that's the first thing. Second thing, I was sprinkling my pumpkin seeds, and I'm saying, Earth Mother O'Neill, bring us wealth, continue to protect us, blah, 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 blah. And in the video that Amy is referencing, all these birds begin to come in because there's a pond, across in my backyard. They call it something else down here. A canal, I think is what they call it, but it's in my backyard. And so all these birds began to fly in, and the big old huge cranes and herons. And I was like, oh, because from a Yoruba perspective, the birds are the mothers, and the mothers is who you always want to be talking to because they hold all the power in the universe. So I realized this moment is magic, right? And we love our wands, and we love our ability to, communicate in our minds, and we love our ability to move things and make things happen. We love all of that. But magic is those little tiny moments. When you throwing your pumpkin seeds out and a whole flock of birds, some of them as tall as me, not that I'm very tall, but y'all know what I mean, come into your yard to eat and to watch you do it and to say, we're witnessing this moment and yes, we hear you. That's magic, right? Yeah.
Zoe, your project is called The Magic Hours. You must have thoughts on this word, magic, this idea of magic.
I might have a few thoughts on magic. I love magic. I love magic. And I'm so happy that I actively started interacting with it. I think intentionally, because while other things have happened in my life that I felt less than magical, I will say I've had little sparks of magic and experiences my whole life, thankfully. But the last, 15 years or so, I started actually interacting with it. And so for me, magic could be like when I'm looking for a parking space and I hear something in my ear, right? And they're like, turn left, turn right. I remember they used to just say, stop, wait. And I'd be like, okay, but not really believing yet, right? Like not trusting my parking magic. And then it just was like, yeah, I have like parking angels. It's great, right? And so for me, it's this interaction. And for me, it's an everyday at this point interaction, constantly looking for it. It is my interaction with deities. It is my interaction with the cards, the fact that, I could be giving a reading to somebody I don't even know. And then all of a sudden I start feeling something on my neck and I start itching and I'm like, oh, do you feel such and such when this and that happens? And they're like, yes. And I'm like, oh my God. Because it like still is so like spirit is just, it's still so surprising. And I think that that's it. It's surprising. I started working with Hecate recently. And I don't know, I think I was in the car talking to Hecate or something. And then I pulled into my mother's driveway and there was a raven just sitting there and I got my camera out. This is like last week. And I started video and I was like, yes, it's the girl. I know you with me. It's like stuff like that. It is this relationship between me. And as we're talking about the mothers, like I started reading The Great Cosmic Mother. If you haven't read The Great Cosmic Mother, read The Great Cosmic Mother, because that's like a whole nother level. So it's like me talking to the goddesses and feeling connected to the goddesses. And like you said, small. I'm thinking about somebody, they call me on the phone. That's magic, right? And then there's the other like stuff that I like, making candles, like making magical candles and like that type of stuff that I really love, like the spell work. There's the spell work of it too, which I really love. But yeah, I love it. I do. It's like everything to me. Yeah. Yeah.
It's just so good. Oh, Thea, please go ahead.
No, I just wanted to say, like, sometimes we've had to go through things to get the magic. And that's what came up for me when you were talking. Like, sometimes when life doesn't feel magical, you could feel like disconnect, or like almost like a parent that has left you. And like, well, do I still matter? And sometimes those moments could take like years. And I've been thinking about this a lot recently for myself. Like, why did I have to go through the things that I went through? And it was to get my magic.
Ooh, you said it. The things we go through. And I was always a crier. I was one of those that when I was in the church, everybody else would be running up and down the aisles and getting happy and doing everything because that was my tradition. And I would be in the pew going like this, just shaking my head, just back and forth, just ooh, just doing it, right? I was in it. And for me, when I think about my magic, the tears come. And I don't know whether they're tears of my grandmother going, look at my granddaughter who now can confidently do anything she does in magic without fear of being lynched, without fear of someone taking it away, about fear of someone coming and claiming it, because she knows her worth. And if there's anything that I want to tell everyone that's listening, is y'all, we are worth it. You are worth so much in gold, in spiritual currency. Y'all, if we could just feel it just today, just breathe it in and just know that all of this love y'all are feeling, breathe it in, please, let it happen. Let it just bathe you in it, that all this magic is real. This is not made up. This is not a joke. This love is real, and that part is magic to me. And that's, I think, what makes me cry, is because the beauty of it, y'all. All right. Woo.
Loli, I feel like you could give us all some advice about knowing your worth.
Well, I can do my absolute best. I was writing down what magic means to me, and I wrote, the first thing that came up to me was, magic is awareness of self and your place in the realms. And by realms, I mean all of them, because when you reach that level of awareness of self, you realize that all the synchronicities, all the confirmation that you're chasing are all answers of yourself. They're all reflections of yourself. And, you know, when you reach that level of, and there's not really a level to reach, honestly and truly, it's just the learning, really the relearning of self and the unlearning of what the world told you to be, the unlearning of the roles that the world put on you and told you to carry. And the world has told me to carry a lot of things. The world has told me to be tough and to be quiet and to be grateful and to not complain. You know, the world has told me that I come from a line of angry people, and why are they like that? And that is not true. And you know what? To hell, yeah, they are angry, and we have every right to be. My anger is magic. My resiliency is magic. My presence is magic. I don't have to lift a finger if I don't want to. Okay. So your awareness of self is magic, because when you reach that complete wholeness of self, you reach oneness with spirit, with the divine, with the goddesses, with the mothers of the realms. And that is magic. And your self-worth is a reflection of, you know, your magic, essentially. Do you believe in yourself? Do you believe that you are worthy of even practicing magic? Or do you believe that you are worthy of receiving synchronicities? Or do you think that, oh, they're just lucky? No. Luck is preparation meets opportunity. How does that happen? Through magic, through awareness of self. This idea of kill the ego is bad. Stop that. The ego tells you that you have boundaries, you have worth, and you are not delusional. Everyone wants to be delusional, manifest. No, be real with yourself. Your idea of self-worth is not delusional. It's worthy, it's real, it's concrete, it is the earth, it is real. It is rooted in reality. It is rooted in the sacrifices, the bloodshedding of your ancestors. So to me, magic is awareness of self on all the rounds. It's awareness of my mother before my mother, and so on and so on and so on lives within me right now. And awareness of that is magic. That's synchronicity. When I put down my offerings on my ancestor altar and my Pisces grandmother calls me in 5 seconds, that's magic. But that comes from the awareness of self and knowing that this is what's going to happen because I said so, not because delusions or illusions or whatever it might be, because I said so.
I recently did a pre-interview. This person wanted, Iolinda, if you're listening, hi Iolinda. She wanted to do a pre-interview because we had never met before and she had never been on a podcast before. And of course, I want you to be as comfortable as possible. Of course, let's meet ahead of time. And she was sort of, that like humble and slightly self-deprecating. And I said, I have to stop you right here. This is not the place for that. I want to hear about how powerful you are. I want to hear about how strong you are and amazing you are. I want to hear about how crumpled and sad and weak you are. That's fine too. You don't need to come here as a perfect being, but let's leave. This is not the circle where we are humble. This is the circle where we come to recognize each other's power. Thank you so much, Lily Moon. It's just a match striking under my little butt.
I gotta jump in there with Sister Loli Moon, because that's exactly why I started teaching Black witchcraft, is because every time I would talk about witchcraft, I could talk about the Orisha, I could talk about hoodoo. I couldn't in those days mention a lot of root work and conjure because people still had a lot of scaredness attached to that. But every time I would talk about witchcraft, Black women would tell me that's not for them, right? They don't have the right to do that. What you just spoke about, they don't have the right to dabble in that. And I was like, where is that coming from? I had to get to the root of that feeling of not being entitled to all of the magic. So you think it's a little magic pie and it's only one little slice of it that you get to have. And all the rest of the magic pie, you can't put your fork over there, right? So I definitely, in the beginning of every class, delve into the fact that the whole magic pie is for you. Your ancestral mothers helped to create it, and they made it literally for you, specifically for you. They had your specific self in mind as they were creating the magical pie. But yes, that thing, you have to know that you are worthy to do magic and that you are worthy to wield your power in this universe and worthy to take from it what you want. And I really, when I did the reading of the year this year, what Oshun said to me was, we're not only worthy, we are entitled. We're entitled to that. Before we were born, we laid all of our things out before us. And then we said, okay, let me go on and come into the world. And then we get to the world and we say, people who look like me don't get to have that. People who got this many kids don't get to make that kind of salary. People who've been married this much or ain't never been married or ain't never been chosen by the right person with a penis don't get to have this, that, and the other, right? We make up all these reasons that we don't get to have the shit that we laid out for ourselves. So I don't get to have that. It's dangling in front of me all the time. It's my deepest desire. I really, really want it, but I don't get to have it. All of that is a state of unworthiness. So we got to come back to our entitlement, right? You're entitled to that. right? You big enough to fulfill that big ass destiny that you feel on the inside. You're big enough to fulfill that. And you're entitled to every little molecule of whatever it is that gives you the ability to fulfill that destiny and makes you happy while you're doing it, right? Because man, out here fulfilling destinies to be miserable either. And my destiny is not a servant or a mule. I'm here to help people. I'm not. I'm here to have magnificent orgasms and dance naked in places that are warm. That's why the fuck I incarnated. And so, yeah, that's what I'm doing. I can teach people along the way. Yeah, I got classes about magic. Yeah, I write books. Yeah, I teach literature. But when the hell I said I was coming here, I said, oh, look at that orgasm thing. I'm finna go do that over and over again. And oh, that sun looks delicious. And look at this sand that I can dance in. That's what I'm here to do. So I want us to come out of that mindset of thinking, like you're saying, that this humility has to be attached, that this smallness has to be attached, that this squeezing yourself into some sort of tiny ball whose purpose is to give and give and give of itself to others, and to never feel bliss and to never feel ecstasy and to not have a good time. That's not why we came here. When I ask people that, when I do divinations for people, and they say, oh, I came here to help somebody. I say, nobody came here to help people. Why did you come here? Helping people is something that you do on the side of what your actual destiny is. What did you come here to do? Some of us came here just to taste a papaya. We're having a human experience. What did you want to do? I wanted to taste that particular fruit and have the juice and feel it run down my skin, right? There's a reason that you came here. Helping people is something that you also do, but that's not your reason for being, right? You're not a mule. You're not a mammy or a maid. So yes, agreed. We're entitled to magic and bliss.
And I feel like it can be like a loofah, because the world has piled so many things. And so one of the things that I've started doing is when I'm in the shower and I'm like scrubbing, right? But I'm shedding because I want to listen, Capricorn rising astrology people. So you already know. Okay. Capricorn rising. So there's a lot of me working. There's a lot of like, I've got to do this. I've got to do that. But I'm like, oh, people are getting soft. Like, what's this soft thing? What's this enjoyment thing, right? Because I'm also Libra sun. So I'm like, I need to I'm doing my Venus a disservice. Like, what I'm working too hard. So I've started to I got this beautiful rose cleanser shower gel. And when I'm in there, I'm like scraping off and I'm seeing like that old messaging and that like worker bee energy, like sloughing off. And I think that magic can be that. It can be a response to capitalism. And this is how I've started talking with organizations that I work with around having them do group rituals as a response to capitalism. And, they're nonprofits. So it's like I can go there with that conversation with them. And we know it's real. Y'all are talking about reality. We know it's real. We know it's powerful because there's so many things working to separate us from ourselves. And magic is such it's a connector. When somebody was talking earlier, I was seeing like a plug. So it's a plug into reality and our natural selves and our true selves. So it's not just a response to something negative. Obviously, it's also like our God-given or goddess-given right for me.
Have you all noticed that in your magic, your clients, the people that read your books, things like that, it's almost like we've been taught for so many generations that we're here to serve, that it's difficult to serve yourself first. Have you noticed that? Like if you say, like you were saying, I'm going to be on this word and I'm going to do some magic for me and I'm going to have an orgasm for me. I'm not going to have an orgasm for you. You get yours. I'm going to get mine. And it's my right. It is my privilege to enjoy that. When I'm eating a sandwich and people come up to you and go, you know, you didn't offer me any. No, I didn't. But if you want some, it's on the table. Right? When we're doing things in offering, when I do my work in offering and I bring a plate of food to my ancestor after they've helped me, then that is something that I'm doing in worship. But when I'm doing work for me, where I want that job, I want that whatever I'm asking for, because in hoodoo, for me, I don't judge over if I want your stuff or my stuff. So if I want your shit and I'm doing my work to get your shit and my ancestors agree with that, then I'm going to do that without guilt. I find that so many of us have loads of just the guilt, and then we just are hunched over and we can't even, I love to watch Zoe do the yoga poses where she's lifting her body up and she's able to do all of these magical things in spirit, because I feel so many of us are so burdened we can't even stretch. We can't even move our bodies. I see so many of our women, we're hunched. You come over to them and you ask them something, maybe they're helping you in a store or something and their heads are down. They don't even want to look you in your eye because they're not worthy. You're here to buy something and I'm here as a lowly salesperson. What? Time to rise up, y'all.
Just let me take it in for a second. How do those of us who have not connected with our own personal value in this way, so you talked about, a ritual shower. Can anyone expand on that notion of how we can bring that feeling? Because I think, Loli has something.
Mm-hmm.
I think that what's amazing is what we find, especially with femmes, especially with women, is that the better we take care of ourselves, the more energy we have for that side project. Olomi, I'm keeping that forever. This side project of helping other people. It's not my main deal. This is my side project. Yeah, Loli, please.
I believe, and what has been serving me very well, is the practice and the continuous practice of self-devotion. And a lot of times capitalism will tell us, oh, individualism is this and that, da, 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 da. It's like, no, you brought that to us. You taught us divide and conquer. When they create division, it's to conquer us, right? Divide and conquer. It's tale as old as time, right? So practicing self-devotion. You got an altar for your ancestors. You got an altar for this goddess, this god, this, etc. You got a shrine for this, a shrine for that. What about you? Does your home reflect a sanctuary for yourself? Is your bedroom a space for yourself, or is it a hoarding space for more electronic things and other things that just feed off of you? Practicing self-devotion. Are you speaking positive words into yourself? It goes beyond the inner child healing. It goes beyond the inner teenager healing. Are you practicing self-devotion? How do you talk about yourself? Are you using words like, I'm so silly, or I'm so broke, or I'm so this and that, or, oh, I hate being single, or I hate that I'm in this situation? How are you practicing self-devotion? Because your ancestors are watching, your goddesses are watching, your angels are watching, all of that. Okay, so practicing self-devotion, I think, is the main thing that will help with that. But also understanding that as you continue to pour into that self-devotion practice, you are able to pour as well into community, not in a way that overextends yourself, which is why I've had to take off the labels off myself, because Pisces rising, I'm gonna just keep going and going and going and going. It's about pouring back into your community at your capacity, respecting your capacity, and knowing that there's no shame around it. Okay, there's no guilt to carry with that. It just is what it is, and that's okay. And if your people can't get with that, they're not your people, right? The whole point of community is unity. Keep the unity in community, okay? Talking specifically about the diaspora and and Black people and people who have Black birthing bodies, okay, this is the group that has the number one highest rate of premature children being birthed. And there is a reason for that. The body can't even rest to give birth to this next generation. The premature levels are so high in the community. It's the highest in all of communities. And that is a reflection of this urgency to give birth to things because capitalism tells us to. And I believe that with more focus on self-devotion and more support of community that recognizes the unity in community, that is what's going to bring us forward. That is what's going to launch us into the revolution, and not just to make history, but to become the timeline, to become the ones in charge, and so on and so on and so on. And it's not about power. It's not about consumption, because absolute power leads to absolute corruption. It's about balance, ease and flow, right? Elevation. And that comes with starting with a self-devotion of yourself, and then saying, okay, I've poured into my cup. It has runneth over. My feet are anointed in this life energy, which is water. Now I can step outside of this space and pour some of that energy into my community. And not community that's looking for you to just feed into them, but community that's also feeding into you. Because people will come to your table with just a plate and got nothing else to offer you. And that's not community at all either.
I feel like that's all real Two of Cups energy. Just like, let's come together and fill each other's cups.
Yeah.
I was thinking about desire, because we were talking about orgasms and the right to them. And I feel like that's also a key. And a lot of times when people, if they come to me for a reading, I'm always like, okay, so, like, what are we here? What's on the table? And sometimes you'll get 5 things. And I'm like, no, what do you want? And when someone lands on what they want, like what they desire, you feel it. It's a instant energy shift. And I can feel their desire through the screen. And I'm like, yes, we're going to do this. All the other things, it's just clouding your mind. If you could just follow like what you feel, and then the reading just like opens up into this whole world. And so our right to pleasure, our right to feel good, our right to chase our desires. And more than that, we're saying entitlement, like what is that? It's like a directive. It's like, this is what you're here to do, and that's why you want it. And I wonder, if we all felt like we were allowed, or if we all felt the call of what we desired and followed that like the arrow that it is, like, what would this world look like? And it reminds me all the time to continue to follow my desire, which changes. It changes all the time. And that's the other thing. People will want to put you in a box and say, this is who you are, it's what you do, it's what you like. And always coming back to that, that's a wild spirit. That's nothing that's static. That's nothing for you to latch onto or identify with. It is an arrow, and it could change, and it could open up, and it can go back, and it can circle around. And when I enter a project through the lens of desire as well, it does a thing where it takes it out of a sort of I'll have like a mental outline, say I'm like writing something. Or sometimes if I feel stuck in like a maze, I'll just go back out and I'll just like write a poem. I'll just like make a bowl of pasta. I don't know. You know what I mean? I'm just in it. And then I'm like, oh, this is what it means to feel alive. We'll come back to that.
I think that the juxtaposition of being the descendants of people who were enslaved and then becoming working class members of a capitalist society has us stuck in a loop of thinking that we are a means of production. Particularly for Black women, we are the creators of the capital that made this place. The capital came out of us, the capital that made this place that we now live in, whether it is here in the United States or the Caribbean or any of those places that were created by the capital that we gave birth to. So when you think about Black women in films, because that was what we did historically, there is a way that we glorify being a means of production, right? I remember being married. Not to say anything bad about anybody who was married, but I wake up every morning and the first prayer I give is of thanksgiving that I ain't nobody's wife. But anyway, we'll move on. But I remember being married, and before I would fall asleep, I would do a checklist of had I made everybody happy that day, right? And as I began to descend into madness in that marriage, literally, I'm a writer, so it's gonna sound real flowery, but that's what the hell was going on. I got a wonderful Black woman therapist. All praises to her. I will continue to praise her name forever in this lifetime and the next. And she asked me one time, "Are you on the checklist?" And that was blasphemous to me. What would I be doing on the checklist? She was like, "You don't check to see in a day if you've made yourself happy?" I was not raised to do that. I was not raised to do that. And I tell you, I was raised by a family of witches. By today's standards, I was raised by a family of bad bitches. That's what people call the kind of women that raised me. No joke. That's the kind of women that raised me. They were hell raisers, right? But still, I was not raised to, before I fell asleep, put myself on the checklist of people that I made happy. And when she put that thought in my mind, that was what planted the seed for the path that I find myself on today. Because I was like, well, damn, not only should I be on the list, why is anybody else on the list? If I'm going to sleep, shouldn't I be making sure I made myself happy today? The other people need to check and see if they happy. Children, husband, lovers of any kind, cats, whatever other kind of pet I've had. They need to check on themselves. I need to be checking on myself. But that is always a radical thought for Black women and femmes. We are used to and very entrenched in thinking of ourselves as a means of production. And everyone is in a capitalist society. But because of that place that we hold as the creators of capital, there is a particular type of way that it's entrenched. And so when you're counseling Black women or doing divination for Black women or teaching Black women about magic, you have to spend so much time stripping down that layer that just gets to the human being. And I don't teach any class without saying you're not a means of production. Sometime when you do a divination, or Shun will say, tell this person that she needs to take at least 2 baths a day. And she needs to sleep for at least 10 hours. And what do I hear every time? I don't have time to do that. You ain't got time to wash your ass. What kind of life is you living where you ain't made time to wash your ass? Right? That's a sin. Now that's a sin. You see what I'm saying? And you ain't got time to get adequate sleep. What kind of life are you living? Right? But we are entrenched in that. So I think that it's always revolutionary. It is always a liberation force to say, I am a human being and what I want matters. Not because it's good for anybody else, but because it's going to put a smile on my face. It's going to make me giggle. It's not going to save the community. It's not going to even make my children happy. My lover is not going to think that it's exceptionally beautiful. But I am going to giggle when I do it. I can't believe I did that. That's reason enough. That's reason enough. Nobody is a means of production, but Black woman, you in particular, you're not a mule. We really, there's a work in coming up out of that way of seeing ourselves. That is a daily thing. Even for me still now, as a wonderful 53-year-old crone, daily, there is a reminder that I'm not a mule, right? Because somebody who you think you owe service to is going to come and ask you to do something. I got 6 kids. So every day somebody's asking me to do something, right? And certainly I owe service to people. I don't, right? Every day somebody's going to come and ask you to do something. So every day it's a conversation of, are you a human being or are you a mule? What thing are you, right? So yes, I definitely feel what you just said, Thea.
There's something for me about the cost, because there's a cost to the type of liberation that we're walking towards, that we're yearning for, that, right? And so the cost of not doing it, I think we have to see that the cost of not doing it is bigger than the cost of doing it, because there's so few of us actually doing it. Like, let's be real, like throughout history, that's why we know people's names, because there's so few. So it's like, I'm a daughter. My mother doesn't go for all this stuff. You know, the only reason she doesn't bust in this door is because she's sleeping right now, right? So there's always like some expectation. And there is a cost to say, not you, me. And I think that for some of us, it's just too high. Maybe next lifetime, right? Isn't that what Erica said, right? Maybe I'll be free in my next lifetime. But in this lifetime, I'm just going to like go along. I'm just going to go along to get along, right? And so it's like, yeah, I think that there's a very real cost to this walk that we don't always see on TikTok and like the social medias when people are like, you know, like in the flowers, and I'm on there too. So it's like, fine. But I'm just saying there's like a cost to like true liberation for Black women, femmes in particular. This is an outside, this is an outside existence for most of us, I will say. Right.
And I just want to add, like Loli, you were saying before, like if the people around you aren't giving you that energy, aren't lifting you up, then they're not for you. And you know, but that's the kind of cost that you're talking about, Zoe. It's like it's really fucking heartbreaking when you realize that the people that you thought were there for you aren't there for you. And but again, like knowing your self-worth, being your authentic self, this is the cost we're talking about. It hurts. It hurts really bad. But in my experience, it's been worth it. It still hurts. It hurts every day. But it's still worth it for me. And that's okay, but it does hurt. And I want to thank you for reminding us that it's not free, you know? Liberation is not free, and it's not even cheap. And I think it was Faith Ringgold who said that it never ends. It's a constant struggle, right? And she wrote a lot about that and painted about it too. And I want to ask the astrologers if you find that, you know, Pluto taking 800 years or whatever it is to do its course, does that make you sort of release that urgency of capitalism, because you know that we're on a different timeline than maybe Western thought would have us believe?
I mean, there's so much to say there because it's Pluto, right? So it's already an invitation to relinquish, surrender, and like shed some skin. There's a real serpentine quality to being able to let go of past selves, past versions. And I feel like I've been saying this for a while, like we are at such precipice energy. So Pluto is about to, for the first time in 15 years, switch signs from Capricorn, an earth sign, to Aquarius, an air sign. And it hasn't been in Aquarius since like the 1700s. And so it's a big deal. We'll get like a 3-month sneak peek and then it'll back up. And I've been thinking a lot about this because sometimes I'm like, oh, that feels a little scary, right? Feels a little scary how it's going to hit my Aquarius moon. But you know, I'm okay. Like I'm okay to be scared. And I also think that there's people are scared because the structures that were erected during, you know, Pluto and Capricorn, or just like during, if we go even back further, during the course of building and erecting empires during colonialism, we know that these structures cannot hold, that they're crumbling. And it just really feels like that the call is to, like, where is our power? And it is with this sort of being at the precipice of change, being willing to see like, and the ways that people are going to share resources, share power, but also that there's going to be a total shift also because we're in the Aquarius, like the grand conjunctions between Saturn and Jupiter, which set the collective tone, are happening in air signs. So we've left the era of earth and we're entering the era of air. This is how we can all gather from our separate physical locations and gather in spirit. And if you think about that exchange, it's a complete dispersion, right? There's a sort of, we can use our power of the collective. We can form groups and organizations. We don't need capitals. We don't need erected, like buildings. We don't need traditional power structures. We don't need figureheads. We are our own figureheads. We can, and then I think that there's going to be fear, but there's going to also be people who, as we were saying in the beginning, who are born at this exact moment for that call. And we can do it together, and we can hold each other up when the moments get really scary, because that's where our power is.
I just wanted to add to that. When I think about Pluto and Aquarius, of course, we have to look back in history. And as Thea was saying, the last time Pluto was in Aquarius was in the 1700s. This is also literally the time of the Haitian Revolution. One of the greatest acts of freedom that was not given, it was taken. So when I think about the cost of liberation as witches, we understand there's a balance in everything. We understand that there are sacrifices to be had. And so Pluto and Aquarius is really going to ask us, are you ready to provide the offering? Are you ready to give up the offering? Are you ready to give and put this sacrifice on the altar and say, take it? Pluto, power and control, yes, but Aquarius is the 11th house. It's the in-between, right? The 10th house to me is the material realm. The 12th house is the spiritual realm. So we're going into this in-between space where people are becoming more aware of themselves. Aquarians are known to be revolutionaries and innovators because they understand that balance of the in-between. They understand the balance of both the material realm and the spiritual realm, and knowing that, you don't have to give up one over the other. There just has to be balance, but it does come with sacrifice. And the Haitian Revolution, even looking at my ancestors of Jamaica, they had the most revolutions in terms of uprisings in history in slavery, in Jamaica. And they also are the island, the only country that has the most churches per kilometer in the world. That speaks volumes to me. And I think that everyone is ready for that change. I believe that the scamdemic, yes, I'm calling it the scamdemic. I don't care who wants to cancel for saying that. The scamdemic was a reminder of what you can do on your own. It was a dark time for a lot of people, and there was a lot of transitions of souls and et cetera, but it was a reminder of what you can do on your own. The Queen transition, when that happened, it was like a confirmation of everything that we already knew was coming. Because before that happened, there were certain islands in the Caribbean that said, we are separating ourselves from the monarchy, Barbados and Jamaica being a couple of them. Fast forward 8 months later, less than a year later, and the Queen is gone. These are signs of Pluto entering Aquarius. These are signs of the birth, the rebirth, maybe even, of the revolution, which we say is not to be televised. Well, we'll see about that. But it comes from sacrifice. And Capricorn, who is a cardinal sign, is still Earth and can be also very egoistic and very much, I want the stability, I want this safety net. I don't want to give this up because I worked so hard for it. Let that go. Right? There's a bigger picture that is being conjured and brewed at the moment. And Saturn entering Pisces, on the 7th of March is just the cherry on top of all of that. Right? So if you don't know, you will find out real soon, because Saturn in Pisces is going to ensure that. Okay. And I'm talking to all the Pisces placements, all the Gemini placements, Sagittarius placements, Virgo placements. I'm talking to you. So yeah, it's time. And honestly, there's a lot of fear that is around Pluto and Aquarius because it does bring on the change of technology and the rise of the robots and all these other things in between. But no one should be afraid. Do not fear the change. And if there is fear, fear is just a lack of knowledge, right? And knowledge is power, but wisdom is the magic that is knowledge applied. So educate yourself, prepare yourself accordingly. Ask yourself, what does that mean? What does that look like? What does spirit tell you it looks like? What does your community tell you it looks like? What is your community projecting and telling you what it looks like? And are you okay with that? And if not, how can you change it? This is the time to do that.
Yes. I feel like you have all brought this same energy, but Thea gave us the name, this precipice energy. Something is about to happen. And I'm so grateful to have been in the room to witness the, the formulation of this precipice energy, maybe what Zoe would call the beginning of the fool's journey out into the unknown, but equipped. So our time went so fast, but I want to give you an opportunity to tell us how our listeners can shower you with abundance, because Asha Frost is an Indigenous writer, and she recently wrote, people ask me all the time, how can they support Indigenous people? And she said, I say, we're all around you. We write books, we make art, we own stores. So if any of you are wondering, how can I celebrate Black History Month? Well, there are amazing Black witches all around you who do charts, who write books, who teach classes. You don't need to ask. You just need to look. So I'm going to start with Zoe and ask how, if our listeners want to get in touch with you and shower you with abundance, how might they do that?
Oh, there's so many ways to shower me with abundance. Okay, so I have 2 books. One is called From Ashes to Angel's Dust, A Journey Through Womanhood. And that is a collection of interviews I did with survivors of domestic and sexual violence, chronicling their stories. And there's also poetry in there. And then my second book is In Praise of the Witch. So you can get either one of those books. You can get them at, you can ask them if you don't want to go to the, those other stores. You can go to your independent stores and they will order them for you. This week, I'm actually starting a Tarot 101 class. It is a 6-week course. We will have started by the time this airs, but there will be another one after this one. So you can go to my website, iamzoeflowers.com, and I do lots of different readings, tarot, and all that good stuff. And I am going to be making magical candles very soon, magically infused candles. So when those come out, y'all can buy them.
I had a preview when I visited your place, and they are so self-evidently magical. As soon as you look at them, you're like, this has power. Sherry Schoen, call forth the shower of abundance from our listeners.
I am so happy to share with y'all. Okay, so if you want to shower me with abundance, you can go to that hoodoolady.com. That's where you can buy book 2, Hoodoo for Everyone. You can also ask for the Hoodoo Guide to the Bible. I call that the red one. It's the white and red book. It's my very first book that was birthed on Samhain in 2019. We have an additional thing. I agree with Zoe that working with your local Black-owned, BIPOC, Indigenous-owned community, all of it. If you are in the Oregon area, the Washington State area, the Northwest area, and you're not buying your books from Third Eye Bookstore, I'm just saying. Okay, there's so many other things out there. Okay, so there's that. I am working with 3 sisters from Vegas, here in Oregon, and myself, and we are putting together, y'all, a Hoodoo wine and sip event. And I'm walking in my abundance that this will be the first one will be in May, and the rest we will continue to go from state to state to state to bless everyone in this Hoodoo and wine and sip. If y'all got to see this beautiful image that we're going to create, it's hoodoo based, but it's also goddess energy, but it's also witchy, but it's also everything. Just in the painting that you're going to be drawing, it is abundance in it. It's elements that you need for hoodoo. It's elements that you need to continue to walk in your own worth and walk in your own acceptance of conjure. So many of us in conjure have been told, I'm not Black enough to practice. I'm not whatever enough. It's always that enough. Have y'all noticed that when anyone tries to bring you down, they say you aren't enough. Like they have a wand that you have to fight for. Anyway, so that's how you can that's how you can work with me.
And we'll put all of this on the website, of course, where the show notes for this episode.
Yes,
Loli Moon. Loli Moon! The shower of abundance will rain upon you.
Yes. And so, if anything was ignited in you as I was speaking, you can definitely connect with me via Instagram at Mystic Me Medicine. No funny spelling, because there are a lot of there's scammers and people out there trying to, I'm sure, imitate all of us, you know. So at Mystic Moon on Instagram, mysticmoonmedicine.com as well. Also Patreon, where there is Astrology 101 and a bunch of other things in between that I pour into there. And I have a podcast, What's the Brew with Loli Moon, where I go on my tantrums of lighting fires and all sorts of things. And yeah, I think that's it.
Amazing. Listeners, please, for your own good, really. It's for your own good. Thea.
Hi. Okay, my child's crying, so I'm going to make it quick. My website is theanichelle.com, and like Nancy, like Nichelle Nichols. And my Instagram is Thea Astrology, THEA Astrology. And you can, if you want a reading with me, I would love it. And I really focus on natal readings, electional, astro magic, timing, all of those things. So if you want to get married, if you want to launch a business, speaking of abundance, ask me and I'll pick the date. Okay, so I also have a short story coming out as a part of the Infinite Constellations Anthology, which is actually not astrologically related, but it is a speculative future anthology with writers from the global majority. I'm so excited for this group of writers. It comes out March 7th this year. And it's the other contributors are just blowing my mind so far. So you can pre-order it now, but support your local bookshop and get that. In addition, something else I was going to say. I am the director of production at the Channy app, which is the app by Channy Nicholas, supports healing and mindfulness. And y'all, we have the best art. It is a company that lives its values, if you want to talk about radical abundance. And we have beautiful physical products now as well. So it's really exciting. And so that would be a way also to support. But yeah, also just give me vibes. I take them.
So many vibes and so very, very, very much more. Olomi, can you give us your abundance shower? And then if you would be gracious enough to take us out with a short reading so that we can just bask in that as we exit the circle. Thank you so much, Olomi.
Definitely will. My abundance shower. I am Got to Be Oshun on all platforms. GOT, the number 2, the letter B, OSHUN. I teach Witchy Wednesday courses ever since the overturn of Roe versus Wade. That's what Oshun has called me to do. So I do those every Wednesday, various and sundry topics. For February, we'll be doing hoodoo as a spiritual liberation technology. So please check those out. What other ways can you shower me? I'm also Got to Be Oshun on Cash App, and I take good vibes as well. I do have books on Amazon, Ona Agbani, Raising Revolutionaries, which is my Black homeschooling and unschooling book. Ona Agbani, which is my first book on the tradition of the Onago people. and then Shotito, which is my second book on the tradition of the Anago people. So what we're going to read from tonight is Ona Agbani, and we're going to talk about Eniyan. So Eniyan is one of the Anago or Yoruba words for people, and it means one who is chosen. That's what being a human being means, is one who is chosen. Once an Eniyan is given birth to on the physical plane, it is her duty to revere those spiritual and physical forces that provided the body in which to live and a family line in which to be born. This is accomplished through the reverence of one's family and one's family egun, which is your ancestors. Worship of your ancestors keeps you in contact with the goals of your family lineage as well as your own. And the term egun means bones, and it generally is used to denote the spiritual force of one's bloodline ancestors and the force that is held within your body. So I wanted to read that passage to remind you of the miracle of your birth, and that it is a self-projected miracle. You are one chosen to be here. Your ancestors referred to all of us as Eniyan. You chose the time, the space, the lineage in which to be born. And so it is a self-created miracle. So as we talk about our power tonight, I wanted to read this to remind you that your first powerful masterpiece is what you're looking at in the mirror. That's your first powerful masterpiece. You went into the womb of your mother and you decided that those cells would begin to divide. And look at you. There you are, perfect, and fulfilling this destiny.
Thank you all so much for creating future histories of Black magic and for helping me celebrate all of you and each other and community and precipice energy. Thank you so much, all of you, for being on the precipice with me tonight, for being in circle, for sharing your ideas with our listeners. A deep breath and just so much gratitude. Zoe, Sherry, Olomi, Thea, Loli. Amazing, 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 amazing. I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful. And listeners, all of this, not all of the information, all of the links and contact information will be on our website. Please, take this opportunity to support your local Black witch. We love you so much. And blessed fucking be, thank you all so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Amy.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Blessed
you.
You must be a witch.
The Missing Witches Project is created and produced by Risa Dickens and Amy Torek. If you want to support Missing Witches, check out the all-new website at missingwitches.com.